Namaskar. I'm Harpreet Kaur and I welcome you all to our live and interactive online training program on media literacy. You are watching us live on PM eVidya channels 6 to 12 and also on our YouTube handle NCERT Official. This training program is brought to you by Central Institute of Educational Technology in collaboration with Indian Institute of Mass Communication IIMC New Delhi. Today we are in day 4 of the training session where the topic that we are taking up is news literacy. Well, of course, it's very important to identify whether the news is authentic or not, because you cannot believe everything that's being spread around. You need to understand what you can actually forward after reading and what you cannot, because this can lead to some really grave consequences. So please make sure that you stay news literate. You know how to check the authenticity of news. You should know about the credible sources. You should be able to identify where this news is coming from. And only after that you can just believe the facts that are shown on the screen. So there are certain ways and strategies to do that. I'm sure in the session today we will be covering everything related to news literacy, but in case you have any questions, any doubts, please feel free to get in touch with us. Our phone number is 8800444059. Our email ID is training.helpdesk@ciet.nic.in. And on our YouTube handle NCERT Official also, you can send us your questions, suggestions and of course your feedback. So today on day 4 for the topic news literacy, we are joined by our expert. We have with us Dr. Pawan Koundal. Sir is Associate Professor from Indian Institute of Mass Communication, New Delhi. Sir, namaskar and very warm welcome to the session.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, we are living in a world where every channel is in a rat race of flashing breaking news, and sometimes without even checking the facts. The news is being flashed and there are dire consequences of the same. So, I want you to please explain us the topic that we are going to have today. What is the relevance of this topic and what all important points you'll be covering in the session?
Sure, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank CIET and NCERT for inviting me for this session. And as far as information is concerned and further news is concerned, or any information you are getting from different corners in the digital world, it is very crucial to know about the source and the type of information. And today I am going to discuss about the news, news literacy, and how news is formed and what is the definition of news, because I think your channel has diverse
audiences, yes.
Yeah. So it is very important to note about the news formation, news definition, and also what kind of practices we can have while consuming information,
yes,
while consuming news. So I will also discuss about about clickbaits and
hot news, cold news concepts as well.
Yes, yes,
okay,
yes.
Great. So we are looking forward to the session, and I request all our viewers to kindly not mark their attendance and ask relevant questions on our YouTube handle. Whatever questions we will be receiving from you, we'll take them up in the end. One more information, it's a training program. There is going to be an assessment tomorrow on day 5. If you score more than 70%, you'll be granted a certificate that you can download from DIKSHA portal. For that, you need to log on to our CIET website for all the guidelines and instructions. So please watch all the session carefully. And now, sir, I request you to kindly go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you. So when we talk about news, or I'll start with the definition, very basic definition of news, that news refers to any current event, significant development, which is basically news is basically performed by some to inform the public by shaping opinions, and it sometimes influence decision making of people who are the consumers of news. This is basically reported through media outlets like newspapers, television, radio, internet sites and social media. And as we are living in the digital era, like I said earlier, that information or news we are getting from different corners and from different channels, and sometimes we have to deal with the information overload. So it is very crucial to know about what is news and what is information, and sometimes which is correct and which is not correct. So this is what all about news is. When we talk about the characteristics of news, there are different perspectives and characteristics of news. Sorry, it basically, the first one is to be objective while report news in fair, balanced, and impartial manner, and free from any personal bias, opinion, or any emotion. So news should have objectivity by including information without any personal emotions and biases. Then there are subsets in objectivity in news when we talk about trust and credibility, like a balanced report is considered which is formed for example on a policy with facts from all sides, the fair representation of an issue that is fairly presented, and like for example if someone is covering some event, so the perspective from both sides or from all the stakeholders should be represented in a news item. And we have to separate fact and opinion. If you are reporting some legal case, so it should be separate from editorial opinions, because we are in the business of presenting facts to the public, and public is our main stakeholder, which for which we are creating news. We are presenting information for the masses. The bias is basically to deal with your personal or institutional biases sometimes, and we need to have a neutral language and balanced coverage. Like in news items we can't have favoritism, we can't present one side of and one-sided reports and one-sided opinions or facts. Then this is very crucial to have timeliness in newspaper in news. It is basically centered around recent events or developments. But these days, due to I must mention that whenever we read news on or in newspapers, it is very much possible that you are already have some idea of that particular news item, because you have already exposed to that news in the yesterday's program on television, or maybe on the website or on the social media of any news channels or news handles. So it is this is little shady these days, I can say. I mean it means that when we have something, some incident in our mind, we have to have on that the website of the particular newspaper. So the breaking news phenomena on television is now shattered. If you have any information, you have to have that on your website, whether your website is related to print media, whether your website is related to TV news media or social media. So you have to have with the latest information on your web portals or websites as well. When we talk about relevance, so newsworthiness or the news value to be kept in mind. It is worth mentioning that some news item is newsworthy in one community, but it may not be newsworthy for some other community or some other demography. Like local elections is the example. The small town local elections, or if they do not have any broader implications, then that is newsworthy for some particular community or particular demography. Proximity is also one of the major aspect of news. The events happen closer to the audience are usually given more coverage than international news. Now these days we can see many regional channels which are presenting news to its local audience, or their target audience is basically confined to one place or catered to one audience. So, they are also presenting news to the close proximity according to its audience. When we talk about impact, yes, stories which affect a large number of people or have a profound influence on the community tend to be prioritized, like some major government policy change or a public health crisis, or any major happening. Sometimes when we talk about budget or elections or general elections, they all these kind of information or news have broader impact. When we talk about prominence, the involvement of prominent figures like prime ministers, presidents, or any celebrities or business leaders, they can actually increase newsworthiness of a story. Recent example was the GST news statement made by prime minister. So that is the prominence in the news. Then sometimes there are conflicts, stories that evoke emotions, whether they are heartwarming, tragic, or inspiring. Sometimes, for example, political debates, legal battles, social protests, they are prime example of conflict-driven news capturing public interest through some issues and sometimes tensions and agreements. And yes, then we have novelty is one of the major characteristics in news. Sometimes unusual, rare, or surprising events, unusual weather event, or some scientific breakthrough. The recent example was COVID, its vaccine, and other similar incidents, or the issues, similar issues. When we talk about other stories, human interest stories, when we talk about features, so I think there is some repetition. So some human interest story, some individual overcoming significance or a community confirming about any event. So when we discuss about media literacy or news literacy, coming to the point, well, we are going to discuss news literacy. News literacy is basically a subset of media literacy. Media literacy has many subsets, and in news literacy, it basically a subset of media literacy that mainly focuses on news content. It generally involves identify bias in reporting, in content, sometimes verifying sources for credibility, detecting misinformation and disinformation. And these days we are exposed to social media, we are getting information, so much of information from social media itself. So it is very crucial to see, you have to be very vigilant about the information, and news literacy helps us to identify these kind of bottlenecks while consuming information. So basically, to define news literacy, it is the ability to carefully examine news and information. News is basically, like I said earlier, it is coming from some media platforms like newspapers, televisions, radio, social media, sometimes digital first startups who are we are providing news to their consumers. So when we talk about news literacy, we can understand how news is created. We can find reliable sources. Sometimes we can also spot biases, sometimes perspective in news, and we should also know about the difference between facts and opinions, and we should be aware of false information and misinformation. So sometimes there are some content, there is some content which is only provided as an information, and it caters to some specific audience, that is not news, and that is basically created for some sort of target audience. So why news literacy is important? Because in the digital age, the information is abundant and misinformation can spread rapidly, and it is crucial to discern fact from fiction, identify biases, and understand the impact of news on society. However, there are many fact checkers these days. PIB also have fact check unit. Many media houses, they have now fact check units in their respective media organizations, and they are also helping people to check whether any information they are consuming is correct or not. So that is also very great thing about news literacy. Then when we talk about news versus opinion, so it is sometimes tricky to recognize when a piece is a news report or when it is an editorial or opinion piece, or understand how this affects the content. So, and there are op-ed section in newspapers often feature opinion pieces that reflect the author's viewpoint rather than objective reporting. In op-eds we have the viewpoints, we can read the viewpoints of different columnists, different experts. If there is an issue on defense, we can also read some opinion written by defense experts, or climate change experts. So there are so many opinions we also read on op-ed page of the newspapers, and similarly there are opinions uploaded on the website of the particular media platform, whether it is TV or print or digital first startup. Then how can we identify that is what is news and what is opinion? So there are labeling and section placement in newspapers. There are sections, there are columns designated for some sort of information that on the front page we will get all news, we will get information which is the most valuable for that particular day. According to its news value, it is presented on the first page. But this is a little different on the website of that particular newspaper, right? Like in newspapers we have two folds, above the fold and below the fold. Above the fold obviously has more important news items than the below the fold section. In the same way, on newspapers website or any other website, any other news portal, the news websites are finished in almost in 3 scrolls, like like we have above the fold to the two fold. In news portals or websites we have 3 scrolls, and within these 3 scrolls you will get all the information uploaded on the web page of the or the home page or the landing page of that particular website. So labeling and section placement, this is same for website, same for newspapers, that if the article is labeled as opinion, editorial, analysis or commentary, and basically these type of articles are typically reserved for opinions, like op-ed page of or editorial page of the newspapers, and the design and layout is also totally different from the other newspaper pages of, if you compare with the op-ed pages or editorial pages of any particular newspaper. Then the perspective of the author is also present while he or she is writing. Like sometimes we always write our personal viewpoints while we are writing some opinion piece, or we are talking about some incident, or we are covering some important event. So the phrases like I believe, in my opinion, or we should, they are basically considered as author's perspective, and sometimes the subjective language, or emotional language like terrible, outrageous, whatever, these kind of phrases and languages can discern the news and opinion. We can easily identify, and if there are facts in an article, in a news story. So, and without any interpretation from the author, it is a news report, very simply put. And if again, if you are using some author's perspective in that article or feature, that is the opinion piece for that opinion piece, right? Then if the author, like I said, there are experts, defense experts who are writing on different defense issues or weather issues or any political issues, they all are experts in their domain, and they are known for their opinion on certain issues or any topic, and we can always identify what is the purpose of the article or news story. If an article is only based on facts, it is a news report. Then when we also identify that what is the language in headlines or copy, and if they are strong opinionated language, it is a strong indicator that it is an opinion piece. Natural fact focused language based on 5W and 1H, the basic journalism rule that we have to write according to the style of 5W and 1H. That means we'll discuss in the later slide that it is a fundamental framework used in journalism for information gathering, and it actually helps us to structure information clearly and answering key questions like who is involved, who, what, when, where, why, and how. So, it helps us to this is fundamental framework. We can write report according to these categories, according to this fundamental framework, and we can write news report. Structure and style, yes, if the article is structured with clear beginning, middle, and focused on a narrative or argument, it is an opinion piece. Straightforward, objective, with a focus on delivering information, it is a news report. This is very simple. And the newspapers and websites and news portals, they all are mix of both facts and opinion, and both are important in their own way, because sometimes if there is an issue, if there is a certain issue about any topic or any government regulation or any policy issue by government, the news reports can present fact about that particular regulation or policy, while opinions can discuss in a broader way in the opinionated language, and sometimes it is also welcoming. It always welcomes sometimes by the government as well. So these aspects we can always see when we differentiate between news and opinion. And how we can evaluate credibility of a news. Credibility is also an important aspect, while and it is also an important part of any news literacy program, that you can always for example, you can take a recent news stories and you can evaluate the credibility of the source by researching publications history, balance, and evidence cited in the story. Evidence here, I mean that if you are writing any piece of information that is based on fact, we have already discussed, that is news, but sometimes opinions are also based on facts and figures. Many experts, many columnists, they are also using so many sources while writing opinion pieces, and they are also citing so much of data or data backed stories to write their opinion piece. So there is a basic checklist where we can assess that any recent news stories by examining its source. Like there are aspect like publication history. Is the publication reputable and established? It is very, if this is very old newspaper, what is the writing style of the newspaper, and how it is covering certain issues, how they are writing editorials every day. So it is basically the you can check always the publication history, and always any good publication, or news portal, they are according to their news reporting, according to their style of reporting, according to their selecting some issues and some topics. It's basically represented their opinion about any topic. Or if the publication known for unbiased reporting, there are the stories are written according to the journalistics framework 5W and 1H. You can always check if there are evidence cited, if the source is clearly identified and verifiable, if there are reports quoted in the stories or in the opinions, or the article include data, statistics, or direct quote from the credible sources, like one can mention the data from World Bank report, UNESCO, UNICEF, or any other for example. And there are hyperlinks or references to primary sources in case of the digital news stories, because in print media we have space constraint. We can't have so much of so many stories because we have space constraint, but in digital we don't have any space constraint. You can always include stories with a number of hyperlinks, and hypertextuality is there. We can always check the sources. You can always quote the cited evidence in the form of hyperlinks, and you can always see or give, as a newsman, you can also give hyperlinks of the original reports or annual reports or any data which is there by some authority or agency. Then balance of news points, if there are multiple perspectives presented in a news story or any content, or the language is neutral and objective while presenting content in any form like print media or digital news story. So apart from that, we can also understand news sources, like if you want to understand how stories are being included or presented in different platforms, like we are getting information from social media or news from social media, from TV, from legacy media like print, TV and radio. So we can to practice how one story or different stories, how they are presented in different types of sources, like Marshall McLuhan also coined the term like medium is the message. So according to the medium, message is conveyed or sometimes it is changed. So if you want to write a story for print media, you will be writing in very refined way. All your content should be very correct, refined grammatically and in expression, so that people can read that easily, and it should be legible also. But in TV, the same story can be converted to some 2-minute package or 3-minute package, and at the same time, if the same story is on the website, we can include other elements also, like audio, video, sometimes big infographics, sometimes hyperlinks. So according to the medium, the content presentation is changed. So what we can do, we can always compare how stories are presented in different formats, so that we can actually have the sense of evaluating a story and evaluating the news sources. So you can compare how each source present the story in its own way. Like for example, if we talk about mainstream newspaper, presentation is basically detailed article, detailed neutral story, neutral news story. Language is again formal and factual according to 5W and 1H. Depth of coverage, in-depth analysis, the context is there, the issue is there. So for newspaper analysis, these things can be there while evaluating the news story. Then digital only platform, multimedia elements are there, modern elements are there, sometimes AI images these days. You can, we can witness that there are many AI images even in newspapers. We include AI images because sometimes you don't have some images for your news story which can complement your story. So, we can also use AI images after giving due credit to the AI tool, right. In digital, the language is generally conversational and engaging, and there are, depth of coverage is basically linked to further reading, expert opinions. So, there are many aspects to it. Then social media posts, because these days every news channel, every news platform, we can say, they have their own social media handles. They are also posting news items or articles on their social media handles, on their Facebook page. Sometimes they are doing Facebook Live, sometimes they are, posting news stories and X, earlier it was Twitter, sometimes on other platforms, sometimes on LinkedIn also, Instagram. So, in social media post, because every post or every content is basically caters to some specific audience. So, if someone is creating social media post, or if someone is sending some news item for social media post, then it will be it can be changed, it can be shortened for social media posts. Like in Instagram, we have 30-second reel generally. So, according to the length, according to the medium, we also change the presentation of any news story. Sometimes short post on social media, visual heavy posts. Language is basically informal sometimes, sometimes very sensational, sometimes brief or surface level. So, because it also depends on the audience you are, targeting. So, who is your audience? Like, on social media, on Instagram, we have, younger audience than, so for younger audience, you have to create content accordingly so that you can engage people on your content. And there are other, aspects, like you have to make, those posts very appealing and design, color wise, presentation wise, sometimes orientation wise. Sometimes we make, stories like, in portrait mode, or sometimes in landscape mode. So, it depends on the content and the target audience. Now, so clickbait is basically when we move to other aspect of news literacy, we need to identify the content which is to sometimes made for only for revenue, only for basically engaging your audience, whether it has any negative effects also. So, it is basically to designed in a way to attract attention and encourage clicks, typically using sensationalized or misleading headlines. It often relies on exaggeration or deception to entice users so that they can actually earn revenue by engaging you with their websites. The primary goal is basically to drive traffic to a website or platform, and this is basically to increase page views or to boost engagement metrics, even if the content lacks meaningful or accurate information. Sometimes you see some post that is very promising, but when you open the post, when you go to the website, you will find so many ads and pop-ups, and and the information that was promised in the headline, it is nowhere in the main content or the copy in the story. So, the clickbait is basically to guide you to some different text or different content, so that the traffic can be gained for the particular website. However, these days when we search anything on Google, these days if you are using Google, you are searching something, you get AI summary these days in 3 to 4 paras, right? So if we see the other aspect of it, like now earlier without AI summary on Google or any search engine, we used to search something and we go to the website of that particular, which is providing the particular information on some search result. But these days you are getting AI summary, the revenue of those traffic, those websites are now, less because sometimes people are satisfied with the AI summary only. So they are not going to the particular website. They are not, providing traffic to that particular website, and they are only using AI summary to, to satisfying their informational needs, or what is, I mean, the how they are, using the information in their, in their research, or in their needs. So what is the tactic of clickbait? Basically sensational headlines. They use sensational or exaggerated language, like phrases like, you won't believe, shocking secret, or anything that seems too sensational. It is basically it means this is clickbait. Sometimes vague or incomplete information, headlines which provides vague information, basically forcing you to click for more details, and they are not clearly explaining the content. It is like clickbait. Sometimes overuse of superlative, best, worst, unbelievable, these kind of words, so that you can go and check the website and gain traffic for them. Sometimes promising a secret information, exclusive information, that you won't get information from anywhere according to some topic, or the media won't tell you. These are the headlines or the sentences which are being used for gaining traffic on the particular clickbait websites. Sometimes misleading images, thumbnails, dramatic or unrelated images, and overly dramatic, sometimes unreliable sources. You have to verify the credibility of the website or publication before clicking, because when we click on any this kind of website, you get lots of pop-ups, and again they are redirected to some other website. So at one point of time you are becoming a traffic for 2-3 websites at once, and right, often cluttered with ads and pop-ups. So content is likely clickbait, and if you search any information, sometimes you are getting information in only 3 to 4 lines, and you have to scroll for some time, then only you will get the remaining information. And sometimes there are many pop-ups and ads which forces you to click on them, and they will again redirect you to some website, and they will again they all are likely clickbait pages or headlines. And again, we have already discussed that content that does not match headlines, and it undelivers compared to the headline. So if it is not delivering the particular information that is promised in the headline, it is a clickbait headline. So another part of it, another aspect of news literacy is basically identifying bias or perspective in news coverage. So for practice, we can select any ongoing issue that is widely covered by the Indian media or any other media. We can define a scope. It can be a social issue, a major event, or a public figure's action. Sometimes we can have indicators like words or phrases that signal a particular bias or perspective. For example, coverage of the air pollution crisis in Delhi during winters are now they are approaching. We are in October, So obviously the air pollution is increasing day by day. Diwali week is also here. So how news coverage is there, how grab stages 1, 2, 3 are being implemented by the Delhi government or any other government in any state. So these can also be addressed in reporting patterns in newspapers or websites or any other social media or media platform. So how we can identify two news outlets, for example, for their distinct perspectives. So again, we can see how headlines and subheadlines, how they are framing the issue from the headline, what is the language and what is the tone, what is the focus of choice of words and tone used to describe the situation, and what are the sources, how sources are cited, such as government reports, health experts or local residents in case of coverage of Delhi air pollution or climate change stories or any other issue. We can accordingly we have to change the criteria. The perspective need to be framed. So there are some for example, I was talking about the Delhi air pollution coverage in newspapers, two newspapers or two news outlets. So how they are using, what language they are using, words like emergency, toxic, savior, under control or improving, how words are being used, how they are framing responsibility, how government, industry or citizens described, are they portrayed as neglectful, proactive or victim. So these are some criteria you can always add upon according to your understanding. Selective focus, you can out suppose one outlet is focusing on government action and while the other is emphasizing on public health impact. So two news outlets, they are, the coverage pattern, the reporting pattern is totally different. So you can always identify, and this is for example air pollution. You can also take another example, another topic or another issue. So the tone of headlines, because headline is the window of any news story. So we have to frame headlines very carefully so that people can engage with them and read our stories. So tone of headlines, do the headlines make crisis of climate seem urgent or alarming, or they downplay the severity of the the coverage or issue. So there are the basic example, you can see the headline Delhi chokes or other news outlet is basically on policy focused. Some news outlet is saying that toxic air, some other news outlet is saying measures in place. So then framing of responsibility, selective focus, tone of headlines. So these are some comparative analysis can be done so that you can understand how news is formed, how news is framed, and sometimes how news is positioned on the in newspapers or on the websites, or sometimes in television capsules. Sometimes how air pollution is framing in newspapers, whether on the first page, it means it is very important issue if air pollution is there on the first page of the newspaper, or in the first scroll of the website, or it is part of the prime time on TV. So it means that specific news outlet, how they are framing some news on air pollution and how they are giving importance to that particular news item. So now there are many changes because we are in the digital age. There are information overload. The sheer volume of data makes it difficult to sometimes discern reliable sources. So you are getting information from numerous ways. It is very difficult to identify which is good which is good, which is bad, and there are misinformation and disinformation, false or inaccurate information. It basically spreads rapidly, sometimes often unintentionally. Then there are echo chambers and filter bubbles. It means the digital content is basically run by algorithms. So when you consume particular information, when you are consuming information according to your taste, you will, according to the algorithm, you will get the same kind of stories on your mobiles, on your desktop, or on your WhatsApp feeds. So basically it create echo chambers, right? So to avoid that, we have to read information, we have to consume content from different perspectives, from different websites and different platforms, so that you are getting idea of every perspective. Basically there are challenges because there is a decline in traditional news outlets. Many digital startups are also booming up these days, and it impacts the quality and depth of reporting. The speed of news of dissemination, instant sharing sometimes prioritizes speed over accuracy, leading to premature or unverified reports. Sometimes we have information which we usually skim and just consume information, and we go to another information, and many individuals, they lack the critical thinking skills, need to evaluate online content. So there are deep fakes, visual and video misinformation these days. Manipulated images and videos make it harder to trust visual evidence, and we are living in the age of AI, where you can create images, you can create videos, you can create anything. So there is a very big challenge in the age of AI also. And many media platforms, they are also using AI as a for their production part, for generating images, for generating videos. But sometimes the people, they are also, some people, they are also creating videos, they are manipulating images, and they are presenting to the audience. And sometimes they are deep fakes and manipulated images, and they can create negative effects on media, on society. So there are we have already discussed about information overload, misinformation, echo chambers. So echo chambers, I can repeat that it actually reinforces existing biases, and it can reduce critical thinking and exposure to diverse perspectives. So we need to avoid that, and speed of news in dissemination, it's the online content and online news, it spreads online rapidly, sometimes before being verified. It results in the widespread sharing of incorrect information sometimes. Lack of media literacy and education. Again, we have already discussed about the rise of deep fakes, visual manipulation, and makes it hard to distinguish real from the fake content, and sometimes increases trust in falsified content, making misinformation harder to detect for people who are not very much digital literate, or very much media literate. So thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing that presentation of yours on news literacy under our umbrella theme of media literacy. It's also very important to understand that how we can integrate media literacy or news literacy in school curriculum, because as youngsters, as students are in a very impressionable age. They tend to get influenced easily. So what are the tips and tricks that educators or school authorities must follow so that they can actually make their students news literate?
Yes. Many schools in CBSE curriculum, there is already there is a subject of mass media, and the media literacy is also important part of that.
Right.
I think, in my opinion, and it is basically starting from 11th and 12th. But I think since we always witness our small childs, they are very prone to mobile content.
Yes.
So it is our duty, being a parent or being teachers, that we also, even in the absence of any media content, we should teach them. We should, first of all, we have to media literate or make ourselves a media literate, and then we can expand that to, or aware our children for some specific content. And we can always, sometimes if they are using mobile phones, we need to have some privacy settings. We can change the privacy settings for students, for children, and we can always help their school teachers also. If you are the media literate, you can also offer help, so that you can also, being a parent, you can also extend your expertise if you are well aware about the media content and media literacy. So I think we can start with that. But yes, the work is going on. Many media schools, they are already implementing this.
Okay. Yeah, so there's a vast difference between news and views. What we see on television these days is generally views and not news. So how we can stay informed and updated as responsible citizens, not to get influenced with all these debates and discussions that are probably not taking us anywhere. So are there any tips and tricks? Are there any particular channels, any particular sources, or we should always rely on print media for authentic news? Is there anything that we should be following to be news literate?
Yes. See, like I said, that medium is the message, right? So medium is the message means the same content is being delivered on different media platform differently.
Yes.
Right. So if we want to read better, if we want to be better informed, I always recommend to read newspapers, right? And if you want to be informed in some way, in shortcuts, then you can use social media, which many young adults and youth is already doing. They are not reading newspapers, right? So in IIMC also, our English Journalism department, they have started news board exercise every morning, where students are writing news boards, the headlines on their on whiteboard, and they are reading newspapers, and they are writing headlines which are the important news items or information of that particular day. It actually gain understanding how we can read newspapers and how we can use particular information that is important.
That is important, right?
Yeah.
So we need to be smart consumers. We need
Exactly.
to know what we are consuming. And sir, because we do not have enough time left, we have to wrap up the session over here. Thank you so much for your time and contribution to the session. It was our session on day 4. We talked about, of course, news literacy under the umbrella theme of this training program, media literacy. With this, I'm winding up this session here. And before leaving the studio, let me quickly update you about the textbooks. They're available on Amazon, Flipkart and NCERT website. You can go and purchase your copies from there and simultaneously take a quick look at the schedule, what's all coming ahead. So in a short while from now, you can watch a session Sahyog, where the topic is going to be Count Your Blessings and Journey into Gratitude. So please make sure you participate in the session, and rest of the programs that you've been watching since morning, you can watch them again on our YouTube handle NCERT Official. With this is a wrap. This is me, Harpreet Kaur, taking leave of you. Thank you. Namaskar.